What's up, guys? What is up?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey guys. Hey John. Hey Eli.
Hey, John.
How's it going,
Welcome
Diego?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you as well.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. So welcome to part 2 of the Game 7 Arbitrum campaign. We have Beacon with us today. Diego.
Hey guys, nice to see you. It's been a while, right, Eli? I think last time was in GDC in March in San Francisco. And John, I think we haven't seen each other face to face before, but it's great meeting you. And of course, guys, it's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome, everyone. John, why don't you just give an intro for yourself and what you do at Game 7?
Yeah, definitely. So, not going to go too deep in the background, but, I've been in crypto since 2013. I've done a lot of stuff like co-founding SF Blockchain Week, started a few funds, co-founded blockchain at Berkeley, and just been kind of involved in the space for quite some time. For me, I got really into the DAO space about 3-4 years ago and decided to help co-found a few. The one that I'm most excited about and most involved with, obviously, is Game7. I'm one of the co-founders at Game7. I'm also one of the co-founders of Summon, which is our community portal that we're really kind of reimagining what being a member of a DAO and being a member of a community would be like if it was imagined from a more game-like kind of perspective. So for a little context on Game7, for those who don't know, really what we want it to be is an on-chain ecosystem where both players and developers can win. We realized that kind of in the traditional space, just both developers and players were deeply unhappy. And we realized that, in order for this next kind of iteration of gaming to not be owned by a single few large companies and kind of bring back a lot of these predatory practices that made both developers and players unhappy, we really needed a community effort. And we thought that a DAO was a very good structure for that. Game7 trying to build kind of a meritocratic nation, change the world, and work with fantastic games and game developers like Diego.
Awesome, great intro, John. Diego, why don't you give yourself a little intro here too? And
sure thing.
As well.
Sure. Well, my name is Diego. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of the Beacon. Personally, I'm a psychologist and also a software developer. Strange blend of traits, let's say, but that's the life I chose. And I've been involved into crypto ever since late 2016. I think it was when me and my brother, who's also the co-founder and the CTO, we put together an Ethereum miner. And once we went into this world, we just never looked back, essentially. And we started building the Beacon on early 2022. The Beacon is essentially a fantasy action roguelike RPG game that has MMORPG aspects and features fantastic pixel art. The game is still under development, and we're scheduling to have our global release both on Web 2 and Web 3 at the same time, ideally by the end of the year. We're aiming for December. And what we're doing right now is an activity that's taking place in between now and the global launch, which is called the New Frontiers Quest, which is, let's say, a blend of play to airdrop / play to mint, but tailored in a way that really blends into the game and allows people to try and see what we've been building. And it's proven to be very successful so far. But yeah, we're still we're halfway towards the event in that sense. Today is the 10th day of it.
Has it been 10 days already?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because I lost part of that, but I noticed that it was a joke.
Oh.
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun for sure. I mean, adrenaline is pretty high, but yeah, I mean, it's been crazy, man. Pretty much the wildest days of my crypto career so far, for sure. I mean, there's just too much traction, too much stuff happening at the same time. I'm currently with a good portion of the dev team. We're all staying in Lisbon together in a house, and we're just like working like nonstop to make sure that this is successful.
Awesome. You guys are kind of having like a offsite right now to work on this. Jealous.
So I can't hear you very well, Eli, for some reason. I don't know if it's me or if you have the same issue, John, or
I can hear him. It's a little low though. Yeah.
Okay, repeat the question, Eli. Jesus.
How about now? Can you hear me better?
A bit better, yeah.
Okay. I was saying you guys are doing an offset right now, kind of just to like work on the frontiers.
Right. I mean, we usually do it, especially whenever we have like an important launch. We just like do an offsite kind of activity, and we are just like all together, just working together, sleeping in the same house. Everything just is way smoother like that. And usually with releases like this one, there's a ton of things that you need to react quickly to, issues and whatnot. And being together really speeds everything up. Remote work is fantastic, but it loses efficiency.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Well, I guess why don't we just show the frontiers? Load her up, buddy.
All right, sure. Give me 1 second. I'm somewhat new to StreamYard, so I'll share my screen.
Yeah, you'll present, and then I'll bring your presentation. You'll present it, and then I'll bring it on stage.
Perfect. Maybe I should give a bit of context. I'm sharing my screen right now, right? Yep. So essentially, before I jump into the New Frontiers quest, I think that it's good to give a glimpse of what the game will look like upon global launch, right? Essentially, the Beacon is a game that is a blend of 3 genres in a way. It's a roguelike like Hades that has the action-packed gameplay that's challenging and both fun to play and fun to watch. It's also a game like Stardew Valley that has its own house builder and a set of mechanisms that allow players to create their own world within the game and invite their friends over and customize it in the way that they want. And I'd say the third one is a game that has some of the social elements and competitive elements of a game like World of Warcraft, where you have co-op dungeons and you can go into parties with up to 4 players to brave them. You have also the competitive dungeon landscape where you compete against other teams for who beats the dungeon faster or with higher score. There's also going to be PvP down the line. And it also has like the social environments that MMORPGs have, like Stormwind in World of Warcraft, where you see the other players running around the city and then you interact with them and trade with them. The Beacon is also going to have that, especially in the town have scene that we have, which is like the whole city, and you will be able to see players online. And we're structuring to have the global release of this by the end of the year. And what we're running right now is an in-between kind of activity, which is the New Frontiers quest, which takes place both within the web app and within the game. But it's using the old demo version that we've had live for the last year or so that runs in the browser. But the new version has all the cool stuff that we've been showing, in these videos and everything. And the idea with the New Frontiers is, in a way, to sunset like the client that we're using for the New Frontiers right now, to introduce this new client that has, a ton of new features. It's way better performance-wise, better graphics, and essentially doesn't have like all the limitations of the browser. So that's the context. And right now, the New Frontiers quest has 3 phases. We're currently running phase 1, which lasts about 20 days, and this is like day 10. So we're halfway through the activity, and it ends in 10 days. And within this activity, I guess it's better to stream the activity before I jump into it. Give me 1 second. I'll just start sharing the other tab. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Can you see this one, right?
Yep, it's up there.
Perfect. All right, I'll just press continue. I use the music activities for this activity because it really gives you a way more of an epic feeling. But for the stream, it might be a bit too noisy, so I'll just turn it off for now. So, the New Frontiers, this is the app layout, essentially. It's an activity that takes place within a web app, but it also involves plenty of the game. And as you can see, I've done a few quests right now because I needed to test some stuff, but It resembles like most talent trees that you find in most MMORPGs, right? Where you where there's a node that you need to clear in order to unlock the subsequent nodes that compose the tree. And each of these nodes is a mission that the user needs to complete, and well, allows him to move forward, right? And there's two core functionalities to this. The first one is that there's like the main path, which are the big nodes. Some of the missions of the main path involve social aspects like follow us on Twitter and join our Discord and stuff like that. But down the line, it introduces, ideally on the last node, the new client that we've been working on. And the secondary aspect to this is that there's also two accessory paths, which are like the smaller nodes, which are optional. The first, like the story node, the story path that has different bite-sized stories that the user can go through and introduce in a way like the new assets of the game, new NPCs, and some interactions that you can see within the game. And you also have the combat path, which gets progressively harder, and it has dungeons and boss fights, and down the line it has like a very challenging dungeon that should go live today in a few hours. So the mechanisms to this is that the users that reach towards the 7th node are qualified to be eligible to be drafted a whitelist for the Rite of Passage NFT mint at the end of the event in about 10 days, right? But there's a few more things to it, and it's the fact that you also have ranks in this layout, in this activity, and each of these nodes has its own mission, and each of the nodes rewards points. As you get more points, you climb in the ranks, and the higher your rank, the higher the odds of getting a whitelist. And there's also going to be a small portion of token allocation distributed among the ranks. So it's better for users in that sense to clear and participate on the event rather than just doing the easy main path and qualify for the whitelist, because their odds would be much, much bigger. But there's also a very interesting mechanic, which is chests that you can open as you accumulate prestige, which are the points that are granted by the nodes. And these chests, you go into this tab and you can open them. And maybe I'll open a few later just to see what we get. But these chests have valuable loot. I guess the most important ones would be, there's 2 limited cosmetics that are obtainable only for the event. You also can get extra points by opening chests. But most importantly, there's Arbitrum tokens up for grabs. The rarest of them all grants 1,000 Arbitrum tokens. This was part of the LTIPP of the Arbitrum Foundation, so thanks for that, guys. But I'd say that the most important loot of them all are which are called medallions, and there's 5 of them with different rarities, and each one of them has guaranteed future token allocation, and the rarer the medallion, the higher the token allocation that it grants, right? And that's essentially the activity in a nutshell. It introduces both social quests, but most importantly, quests that involve the game. And this have resonated a lot with people. I mean, plenty of people have liked and enjoyed them. And yeah, lastly, before I jump into one of them, there's also a referral system that you can use to refer users, and you get up to 3% of the points that any user that your referred user gets. And these points become active once the referred user reaches the 7th node. So when he's qualified to be drafted for a whitelist, those points get credited back to you. So that's the activity in a nutshell. I don't know if you guys have like any questions before maybe I jump into anything, because I know there's a lot of stuff in what I said.
I think it's the kind of thing people just have to get their hands on it and kind of feel it out and actually do it. But it's pretty straightforward to me. It's kind of like your guys' take on a battle pass, right?
Right. It's in a way that the idea was to resemble that feeling and to appeal to this design, which is like known by most players. Everybody has experienced something like this at some point while playing, while also, featuring like a cool interface that really feels and blends with the graphics of our game and really feels like something that's fun to do, instead of just like, I don't know, like a tab with different missions that are just a list of quests, which is what I've seen in the space so far. We went another step forward and just decided that, hey, we're a game and we need to create something that actually looks cool and feels rewarding and appeals to players, right? And yeah, it's in a way it's similar to the battle pass design, blended with the talent tree kind of structure, and it's a very familiar kind of thing for players when they see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say not too many questions on my side because I mean, like I've just had a lot of fun playing with it. I think just in general, it's been interesting because like we have working with different kind of games, right, and kind of like serving them to our community through the Game7 portal, and I think like the Beacon has been one with some of the least questions, so it's like been very clear how people are able to participate, and we've had some of those positive reviews. So I just wanted to kind of like pat on the back, like fantastic job.
Thank you, John. There's one thing though, by the way, I forgot to mention that because I was like ranting on my own. But if you want to introduce a bit of Game7 and how your portal works and for how, because we have right now a partnership with Game7 where you can do quests within their platform that are related to the New Frontiers quest. By doing so, there's plenty of rewards up for grabs. And I don't know if you want to chime in that, John, but if you want to introduce that, I think that it's a great opportunity for users viewing to jump into, especially through the Game7 portal before jumping into the New Frontiers. Well, you can do both in a way, but yeah.
Yeah, happy to. I mean, why not do both, right?
Yeah, right.
Happy to walk through it. Yeah.
You want to stream your tab, or should I?
Either way, yeah, I could probably share screen. So.
All right.
Cool. So I'm on a bit of a wonky monitor, so let me know if the aspect ratio is just a little bit weird, but
that happens.
Yeah, I just got a new ultra wide, so I have it like compartmentalized. So, but yeah, is it sharing?
Eli needs to plug you in, I think. There he goes.
Just took a second to load.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is the Game7 portal. I love how you're talking about like the social aspect of it, and also like kind of like MMO, like World of Warcraft inspiration. It's like a huge World of Warcraft player back in the day when I still had a lot of free time. That you'll see kind of a lot of similar inspirations around this. I think like communities in general having kind of like some digital representation of kind of you and your progress was something that was really important to us. So we actually designed kind of our own 3D viewer SDK. All of these items you see are on-chain. So each of these items are NFTs. The actual avatar itself is a soul-bound avatar. But as you progress through the system, you'll be able to earn different kind of like items. It's like I have the deal with it glasses that I had earned from completing a quest, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice.
You'll actually be able to equip those. So like as you progress, you'll get rarer and rarer items, and you actually see this physical manifestation of kind of like my level. So you'll see on this account, I'm level 0, but you can continue to level up. And like as you level up, you'll kind of get more access and kind of like rewards. There's claimable section where we have loot boxes and other fun things as you compete. There's like badges and medals. But really kind of like the core aspect of this is like the quest section. So you'll see kind of like the beacon like up front and center, which is like fantastic. But we have like a variety of games because really what we're trying to say is, we're relatively agnostic. We just want to meet fantastic game developers. We want to meet fantastic players and just bring them together. And kind of like you mentioned, right? It's like, I think that the beacon's a perfect example of there's so much noise. There's so many things going on, right? And so it's like really hard to figure out the signal. And so like what we're trying to do is find folks like the Beacon and say, hey, they're doing this fantastic campaign. Like you should join into it. So like you had mentioned, we partnered together to kind of structure a quest so that the Game7 community and people from various different ecosystems can come together and participate and give their feedback. So yeah, we do have a couple of products that are going to be launching as well in the coming days, like some kind of like a loot drop activation with Mantle, that a little bit of alpha that will be kind of like in this left section will be getting added quite soon. But just in general, we want to keep adding quality content and hopefully have this like stacked benefit of not only are you progressing in Game7 and building your reputation, but you're also able to find fantastic games like the Beacon and kind of like work through progress and maybe see some benefits from that. So yeah,
awesome.
That's the portal.
Awesome, love it. Yeah, I invite everyone to try the Game7 portal because, well, there's extra things to earn from it, and well, it's a fantastic portal. Some of the best games in the space are starting to be featured there, so it's a great place to really get your hands on some of the good products in the space. So yeah, I think that I can present back then to the web. Give me 1 second. This should be it. Perfect. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay. So I think that it's important to mention that, well, these quests are optional, but the quests that are related to the game, they grant the higher amount of points. So it's in your best interest to do them. The story path is quite easy. It's just like a fun adventure that really just takes like a few minutes to complete. And I'll show like how some of these missions look like, and then I can jump into some of the combat missions. although I'm running on a trackpad and in a very uncomfortable desk, so I'll try my best to not get owned by the game, my current setup. So this is like the prelude kind of like disclaimer where we're saying that we're sunsetting like this precise demo, like this demo version that we're running right now. This is like the old client. We used it for New Frontiers, but it's the last time that you'll probably see it and before you see the new one. So in here, well, you just appear here in your home and you have like this quest mark. And well, I don't know if I'm going to read through this in loud voice, but essentially it narrates that you're ready to start the trials for the New Frontiers. And the context in this is that, well, we had our dungeons open back then, right? But there is now a new dungeon that has been discovered that poses a significant threat to the settlement, to the town that everybody is living up in the world of Beacon, which is called Downport. And there is some trials going on now for, well, the forces that are going to be the first to brave the New Frontiers. And you're one of, well, you just begun your journey in this story. So in here you just go and you can, well, talk with some of the NPCs. And this guy is just a dick essentially. He's not it's not fun to talk to. And well, there's tons of NPCs that you can interact with and just like try to find out the aspects of the lore and just go through it. But this is how most quests go about. And here they tell you that, well, you're getting the best of Downport and you're probably not ready, that they don't have weapons for you, but well, you have a stick that you can use to try to beat the dungeons, right? And they test you with it, and now this scene begins, which is fairly easy. You just like go around and just like kill this guy, and then as you kill it, say, okay, you got what it takes. Okay, consider yourself enlisted. You can start your trial now, right? And that's it. That's mission one. It's like small, bite-sized missions that introduce a bit of the lore and the assets and the things that you can see within the game, right? And when you clear it, like this cool animation runs, and then you can pretty much go towards the next node. Each one of this has a shareable component where you just can go and essentially it takes you to Twitter and it allows you to share that you have completed essentially one of the quests. And if you do so and then verify it, you can claim extra points for doing so. It's a way of showing the game to more people, right? And then you claim it, and well, completely optional, but it grants more stuff. Then let's do mission 2, just to see what else you can find within this story missions and other aspects of the game that we haven't shown before. As context, what we had back then, especially about a year ago, was a very limited demo that had mostly dungeons and some NPCs, but now we have a much more holistic and complete world. And this is a way to at least briefly introduce it, right? And this quest, well, you're here in the tavern, and Commander Chica tells you that, well, you got what it takes to join the ranks, but it's time for your initiation, essentially. And in here, they basically tell you that there is a surprise waiting for you at the end of the tavern, and you can talk with the guys in here and just see, well, what is it that they do and what's their background and everything. But in here, you have like this mysterious drink, and when you click it, it provides some dialogue that is better not to spoil, and you realize everybody's watching you, and you proceed just to take one drink of it. And as you do it, then you're hammered drunk with the rest of the guys, and you're still able to walk. And then as you just go into this guy, and boom, they say, hey, we actually were able to withstand the might of the hammer stout, which was like that mysterious drink, right? And they say, congratulations, you passed the test. And that's mission 2. And most of the story, the missions of the story path follow a similar pattern, right? Like fun, small, bite-sized stories that are very easy to play, that they don't take too much time to do. Most of them grant about 200 prestige points, and the ones that by the end of the node grant a few more. But besides this, we also have the combat nodes, which are the most challenging ones. These are like the ones that will really test your skill. And it's been fun because some players have been really struggling against some of the missions and some bosses. And we even had to nerf the 4th mission because it was too hard for some players. But it also was a bit too, we realized it was too hard in relation to the previous nodes. So we just decided to nerf it a bit. But now that we're running the 6th boss, which is like live right now, there's a ton of players like struggling with it. And I'll try to kill it in the stream, but I don't know if it'll be a little bit of trackpad. but I can show you how some of the combat missions look like. I don't know, Eli, you can tell me if it's the stream is too loud, because I do hear the music like very, very strongly from my end, but I don't know if that pours up to the stream.
I mean, for me, it's not too bad, but my volume's not very high.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
The music's also quite pleasant, so don't mute it.
I think it's perfect. Gives that immersive vibe. I like it.
That's it, yeah. So in here, well, this is mission number 2, because I already did number 1, which is fairly easy. And here you're gathered at the dungeon entrance with some of the heroes and everything, and command tells you, hey, there's now, some nasty surprises ahead. The dungeon in here is called Pebble Mite Madness, and it has, tons of Pebble Mites that await you within it. Pebble Mites are those small bugs which are they're like very quick. They're also very, very fragile. They die very quickly. And this is an NPC that tells you that, you essentially reach the small checkpoint, and then you carry on. And he tells you be mindful about Pebble Mites, because they're actually pretty quick, and they will just throw into you they'll sacrifice themselves to kill you essentially. Okay, that wasn't as quick, by the way. So the reason why this is a bit unfair is because I know the map, because I was the one who built it, so a new player is going to find a few more surprises within this. Right. And with that, you essentially finish like this dungeon, and then you can talk to this guy. And as you cleared it, boom, mission ready. And then you can just verify it. Again, like all these missions have at the same time the optional capacity of being shared. I don't know if I should I jump into the third mission. This one is a bit more challenging. I'm with a trackpad, so I can make a fool of myself in here, but I can try it out. Let's see what happens.
I think we need you to challenge yourself, since you built the maps.
Yeah, although while streaming, there's more pressure, right? But yeah, I think I can do it. So this was essentially, I think it's a dungeon that's called Traps everywhere, and it's a dungeon full of traps essentially. So let's see how this goes. I'm not good at doing no damage runs like Corel, by the way. Oh Jesus, that was so bad.
He's probably quietly judging you right now.
Pretty much, probably. Right.
Diego, I'm curious. Like, how long does it usually take you to build out like one map, like one dungeon?
Given we have everything structured in phase, it takes a few hours. Depending on the map, though, some are more challenging, others are faster to create. But usually it's a few hours at least, and some of them maybe a few days. As we add more features, of course, it gets a bit more tricky. Right, so that was a bit more challenging. As you get to this point, you actually reach the checkpoint. So mission number 2, even if you die, you will be starting here. So let's see how it goes. So I can just like roll myself around this. I don't know if somebody noticed, but we actually changed the sound for this mission. For this mission, it's like we're no longer running the old soundtrack that we had, which was called Skelly Fame. Now we're actually using like the one that we have in the footage. And with that, I was able to clear this mission. So as you can see, they start to get progressively more challenging as you go. That was number 3. Maybe we can try opening some chests, because I've accumulated some points and now I have up to 2 chests that I can open. So let's see how this looks like. I'll just pop one. Do mind that this loot, this is live right now, so whatever I get is I mean, I'm entitled to it in a way because I'm participating, right? I expect not to get anything rare, but if I do, don't think that this is jinxed in any way, or okay, actually got like the worst possible drop. So your pressing points, then you close this, and it shows on my loop tab. And let's see, I have another one, so let's see what I actually can get in here. Ooh, that's nice. That's picking down. That's the it's not the rarest one, it's the one in the middle, but it's, I mean, the odds are not that high, so that's actually pretty good. To put that into perspective, like the odds of getting a mythical medallion are a bit less than 1%, so this is something like 15% or so, or maybe it was a bit less. Okay, so maybe I can try now to kill the boss, the first boss that many people complained about because he was a bit hard, and we nerfed him, and I haven't tried him after the nerf, especially in the missions, but let's see how it feels now that he was made way easier. The interesting part of this boss is that plenty of people, they just like rushed in and they didn't read through anything. This boss has a mechanic within it that some green canisters like this ones appear from the ground, and this guy essentially tells you, hey, like the foe inside this dungeon is wearing a shield. We don't know how, but it seems that this green canisters are powering it, so destroy them when you see them. And that sort of tells you the hint about what should you do to actually kill the boss, right? But most people never read through that and just went into the boss. Oh yeah, it also happens that given I cleared 3 missions, now my armor is golden because I'm no longer like a mere recruit. I'm actually a bit better. So let's see now. So as you can see, this guy has a shield, so I cannot damage him.
That's crazy.
So in the original version, this guy actually had 4 levels. You can see on the title it says level 1. So once you drop them, then you can damage them. Yeah, it's way easier now than in the original versions. It has 2 attacks in relation to what it had before. There's less skeletons spawning, there's less stuff happening. Oh, and I can advise the canisters to have the borders, by the way, so you can use them to shield yourself. So go get him. Now he upgraded to level 2, and now he uses like that beam mechanic, and now there was 3 canisters instead of 2. So just one round more of the canisters, and I should be able to get him.
This is very impressive on trackpad.
Do you mind that I'm using a trackpad, by the way, on my Mac? So it's a bit harder with that. Although I'm a bit used to it, but still, I mean. Okay, so if I could do it with a trackpad, probably most people can do it. It's just right. It's right away, right? I mean, if you have a mouse, this should be a bit easier. And I think that the important part of roguelites, which, well, the Beacon is a roguelite, is that most bosses have patterns, right? So as you try them and die against them, you start to learn those patterns, and it becomes easier and easier to do them. This one is called Dodge for Your Life, and this one is a bit harder as well. It's like a bullet hell kind of mechanic. let's see if I can do this one, Eli, and then we can jump maybe to something else, or maybe to another one of the story, and go on like that. Let's see what happens. Right, the day is on. Let's see what happens. And there's this guy that tells you, no time to think, just run, just follow the advice. God damn it. Right, he's a pig. So I went through that one and I reached the checkpoint, and now I'm in the second level. So if I die, I can spawn in this one. Let's see if I can make it without dying here. All right. All right, there we go. All right. And that was mission number 5. I mean, challenging, but at the same time, it's not that challenging if you just see it a bit. Should I try the boss that everybody's complaining about? If I can beat him live with a trackpad, maybe that would prove that it's not
Return of
that
the
hard.
Grin.
Right.
He's
You want
back
to
with a
give
vengeance.
it a shot and see what
Yeah.
happens?
Give it the old trackpad try.
All right, all right.
Let's go.
All right, let's see. I didn't build this boss, by the way. This was Franco's doing, and everybody's like blaming me for the design because it's hard. But it wasn't me. It's the CTO who is just laughing. Like, he's here like laughing at the complaints of people while I'm in Discord like constantly talking to people. By the way, you can dodge some of these bullets, which is like a usual mechanic that you find on roguelikes. Right, a bit more patience. Oh, that was startling. Oh, god damn it. Right, one more try. So usually actually with this boss, if you're just a bit patient, and you dodge this part, which is like when he rolls. And he gets tired and you can like smash him.
I'm not going to talk to you because I know you're focusing with that trackpad.
Oh, that dance sounds. Oh, Jesus, God.
That's so close. Oh my god.
Right, but I'm about there. I could actually get him if I give it like a few more shots. I haven't tried it in a while.
That was like a couple hits off.
Okay, actually, my heart is actually beating faster now. that was intense.
Diego, what made you guys want to bring the Grin back?
I think that we invested quite a while of time in him in terms of the art and some of the mechanics, and he's a cool boss. For those who don't know, he's actually inspired on Treasure's DAO and Bridgeworld's assets. There's an asset that's called the Grin, and that's what boss was inspired by. This boss came out as a collaboration with Bridgeworld, which is part of Treasure DAO, and we created this boss for an event that we had some months ago. Well, even though he's part of the old version of the game, which is this one, we still invested like plenty of time in him, and it has cool mechanics. And I think that with some polishing in the newer versions, if you're setting this guy, he's gonna be quite angry that you stepped on his bases, and he's not gonna let you pass. So you need to go back and try to go slowly through this ones. But we kept him essentially because he's a fantastic character in a way, and we will polish him for the next version. But the sprites and everything that we invested in him towards him took plenty of time. Like everything is hand-drawn pixel art, and I think that overall our artist Ross, he like nailed it with the design. The boss itself looks pretty good, pretty cool. I mean, it's fun. It's also menacing, but not enough to be feared, I'd say. So actually, grab this. And he doesn't stop you, by the way. So this quest was about feeding the blacksmith. He tells you that you tell him that you want another weapon, but he tells you that he doesn't have any instructions, but if you give him something to eat, and the idea for that is just to get the people to see the town, have a bit, and see some of the NPCs. Where you get a fish and you feed him, and then he says, okay, you're my guy now, you're like my boy, so don't worry, I'll get you a weapon in due time. And that's it. Then story mission is cleared as well. So that's mostly how it goes. I mean, most of this content, even though it's using like the old client, we haven't shown many of this stuff in game before, like the city, most of the NPCs and some of the new assets, and we're like introducing them in a way in a bite-sized manner in this activity. But they're still like very, I mean, these are like very preliminary looks in the sense that we just took what we have in the new version of the game and imported it on the old one. But on the new version, like everything is like way more holistic and it looks like way better. We're just like we figured that it was a good instance, a good opportunity to introduce to our players, and especially to new ones, what the game could look like. I mean, what the game will actually look like in the future. So what we've been having instead of what we had before, which was like mostly like dungeons, and pretty much nothing else. That was about it. And now we have like more of we actually have a world now in a way, with different characters, with lore around it, with tons of stuff happening, with more interactions than just like dungeons. There's quests now, interactive content and stuff like that, right? So okay, so I'm getting just mostly things, although I think the things is not bad, because even though they allow you to open more prestige, they also allow you to rank up. As you can see right now, I'm currently a scout, which is like the second one in the tier. So I'm no longer like a novice, and I'm not a mere new recruit in that sense. And as you rank up, there's more odds of getting a whitelist. More tokens distributed towards higher ranks. So getting points is not that bad, although getting this 100 points is actually quite good. But that's how it goes. Like if you think about it, like this activity, most of these missions were released on a daily basis. So most of them are available right now. But when the event began, there's only these 4 were available. Then the subsequent day, this one, then this one, and so on. And right now we're reaching today. The last combat mission is going to be available, and tomorrow the last story mission will be available. And after that, we will invite players a few days after to go towards the last portion of the main path to see the new trailer that we have, but subsequently to try the new client, which is optional in a way. I mean, people won't be forced to download anything. But those who want to try it and see what we've been building and get their hands on like the new client of the Beacon, they can jump in and we'll try it and see what we've been building in the last year, essentially, because we've been, for the last year or so, we've just been head down developing like crazy. That's pretty much what we've been doing for the most part. And we want that, we want players to experience that. In this mission, this was one was a bit easy as well.
When did you say the client would go live?
A few days from now. By next week, it's going to be most likely there. So in here, these are the guys from the trinkets, and I can give a small spoiler. Trinkets are items that you find in the dungeons. They're equipped, and they have magical properties, so to speak, that help you in some way. They buff you and do stuff like that, right? And the way of getting them partly is by interacting with these NPCs in this place. And what you're doing now is just helping them establish here in the settlement, and they have that mess, right? I'll just grab like the chicken. This creepy dude up here sometimes is like a Easter egg kind of thing that we have. Now this one. Now after you clear this, now you can see how the trinket stand actually looks like, right? And this is like how it looks in the game as well. And this is like the NPC that sells the trinkets or that allows you to get them in different ways. You just talk to her after you finish clearing things up. And then you go to Sage Gwyn here, which is like he's not the founder, but the leader of the settlement. And yeah, tells you that he's glad that the strangers out and that they have knowledge that might be valuable in the front lines down the line. And boom, with that, the fifth node is clear as well. All right, what do you say, Eli? What should I do? Should I try the Grand Boss once again? Is there anything that you guys want to know? Should we dive into conversation? Because I don't want to do solo streaming in that sense all the time.
Are there any more bosses, or is the green the last one?
The green is the last one, and the last dungeon has a few new mechanics in a way, and it's a hard and challenging dungeon. The last boss for this part is the green. Yeah, but at some point we actually considered that maybe he should have been the last boss, like the last combat node, but we sort of changed our mind in the last minute, because although he's hard, he's also it's in a way easy to beat him after you learn the patterns. And the important part is that these two nodes, they give plenty of points. This one gives 400 and the last one gives 700, which is plenty. But if you share that you completed the combat path, which is of course optional, you get another 800 points. So there is 1.5 thousand prestige points in this part. The same goes with the story node. The quest itself comes 300 points, and it's also somewhat easy to do as the previous ones. But sharing also gives tons of points. So by these nodes, by the time you reach here, you actually accumulated a ton of points. And the idea of this, I think, that was to reward the players that dedicated time to really clearing the combat paths, because those are like the hard ones, right? And the idea is that the final one is of course hard enough to have people trying for a bit and reward them if they are able to complete it. That's like the last node of the map. There's also going to be more missions here in the side quest tab. This should be available pretty soon, a few days from now, maybe even less. And in here you will find different missions that also involve the game and particular challenges, but some of them are also going to be like social stuff and things that are easy to complete for players. So the idea is that the activity sort of suits every profile of person, right? Like you can get a ton of things just by doing the main path and the story path, which is just following the story and not even doing any of the combat path, and you still will be doing pretty well, especially if you do some of the side quests, right? So let's give this one last shot. Let's see if I can get a better trackpad.
Oh man,
I don't know. Is this looking well on stream, by the way? Is this the quality right? Because I don't know.
No, it looks fine.
That's good to know. Although this is just like from my perspective, it's I mean the new client like looks so much better than then jumping on this one, right? Like in this stage, is like this missions. It looks like trying like an old version of a game that you've been trying for years. And although people love it, they'll probably love much more like the new graphics.
All right, focus up.
God damn it, I really messed it up in that one. All right, no damage run right now. I take one, done. Oh, god damn it. I forgot that he actually hits you when you go below him. Right, one last chance and then I'm done.
You too. Yeah, get that DPS in.
Yeah. You don't want to waste time. God damn it. Sometimes when I'm clicking the trackpad, Ace doesn't. Damn trackpad.
Die! Oh my god, come on.
There you go. Jesus, did it.
Wow.
I got him.
Dang.
Yeah, okay, so I did it with a trackpad, guys. So
It's like the opposite of a no damage run. You got to your last health.
Yeah, run 1 HP.
Dude, I was like at 1 HP, right? But I got him. So anybody that's complaining, like after a few tries, you can even beat him with his trackpad, right? Let's see what he gives me now that, now that he actually died on the hands of the trackpad. Let's see what happens.
What's some of the best stuff you can get from the chests?
So the best stuff are, I think the highest price is 1,000 Arbitrum, which is very, very rare. But, there's been not so many drops so far, about 10 or 11, I think, of that in the whole event. But there's also bundles of 100 ARB, 50 ARB, and the smallest ones 10 ARB, which is still quite sizable. The other ones would be the wings, the Shimmering Skyblades, and the Abyssal Shroud, which are also pretty rare NFTs that can only be obtained during the event. So there's 10 days remaining for now, and this use the new back slot that we have on the original client. We have mostly there's no back cosmetics, like you cannot wear a backpack or weapons on your back, right? But in the new client we do have that, and these are part of the back slot. And the idea is that these are very unique items that can only be obtained through here, and there's not going to be many future items that look exactly like this one at the same time. And most importantly, I'd say also medallions, mythic and legendary medallions, of course, among the rarest. They give future token allocation. So the more of these you get, the higher the amount of tokens that you will get. So those are mostly it, and this can be obtained by anyone that participates and that of course qualifies, and of course is not doing any malicious activities like any civil or well, multi accounting or stuff like that. I mean, but every free player can just participate in this and get them. We also have live currently weekly dungeons, which they use the old client that we have, where you can go in if you have a founding character, which is one of our primary collections. You can go into the weekly dungeons and complete dungeons in the dungeon hub. There's 4 each week, and with every founding character, by the end of each dungeon, you can claim a chest. So, and claim a chest once per dungeon, of course. So if you have a founding character, which they have, well, skyrocketed in price as of lately, you can get more chests, well, by doing dungeons, essentially by participating. We're also going to be giving away whitelists towards the founding characters holders that participate in the event. So there's reasons to have one. And there's also like more content if you want to jump into, in that sense. There's 4 dungeons per week. Today, the 3rd one goes live. And if you're a free player, you can also try it, and you can also earn some stuff from it, but mostly common cosmetics for your house and for your character, rather than something else. So yeah, that's mostly what we have for now. I mean, today the 7th, the last node of the combat path will be available with the last dungeon. Tomorrow, this one will be, which is like the last one of the story path. And with that, most of the talent tree will be unlocked until we unlock the final node, and the semi-final one, which have well, a trailer of the new client that we've been working on, and lastly, a prelude experience that we've crafted for the players to see, like the new client. So this is the event in a nutshell. Like, if you can see, it doesn't take too much time to go through most of it. The idea, I mean, initially most of the stuff was locked per day, so people just kept coming back on a daily basis and did a small quest and for 20 minutes or so, and then well, they got prizes out of it. And I'd say that this approach has been very successful because it's a bit more fun, right? I mean, it really blends into the game. It doesn't feel like a chore. Many people are actually really looking forward to have more content, to go into the dungeons, or to see what the side quests will bring, which are going to be more missions. Some of them will be pretty hard as well for those like hardcore triers. But yeah, I mean, this is mostly what we crafted, right? And this is phase 1 of the new frontiers. Phase 2 will take place some weeks from now, maybe about 2 months from now or so. We're still like defining the last details. But phase 2 is going to be similar to this, but it's going to be more oriented towards the rite of passage NFT holders. So in about 10 days from now, when the event is about to end, we will have our rite of passage NFT mint. We will raffle the whitelists among the participants, as well as among our holders. Pet holders get a guaranteed whitelist. Founding characters, there are also going to be some allocation towards them. We also have plenty of partners that have whitelists. And after the draft, the mint is going to take place. And the mint is valuable because the rite of passage itself has guaranteed future token allocation as well. But it also allows you to jump into phase 2 of the new frontier and phase 3 subsequently. And phases 2 and 3, what they are meant to do is, you will have a talent tree like this one, although that's going to be more choice oriented. Like, you actually pick a path and you follow that path, and then you might go back again. But the idea is that you pick a path, and the phase 2 is going to be mostly oriented towards introducing features of the new client, like new weapons, new playstyles, new builds, and stuff like that, and have people try them. And the rite of passage holders that complete those quests and help us gather feedback, they will be able to upgrade their rite of passage and have more guaranteed token allocation for it. So it's a way of us aligning the holders and the supporters, and aligning them to help us balance and polish some features of the game, right? The same is going to happen on phase 3, but phase 3 is going to be more of a holistic approach. Instead of scoped features of combat and stuff like that, we're going to have like the whole game kind of running, like every part of the game working simultaneously, and we will emphasize on some of them to try stuff. But I think that the thing that we're looking forward towards the most on phase 3 is for users to try and help us balance the co-op mode and maybe some instances of PvP as well. The idea is that phase 3 really dials down in the hardest, let's say, hardest to polish features, which are co-op combat and things like that. Part of the networking layer, we're also going to be trying there, of course, like online interactions and all those things, and gather feedback within them and rewarding those who help us in that sense. That's like the idea of the rite of passage. And after phase 3 ends, then we'll very likely going to have like a small beta period, and then the global game goes live, and the global release goes live, and the global release will have like all the features of the game in place. The full roguelite with upgrades, with different weapon styles, the online social experience, where you will be able to have ideally co-op combat by the time of launch. Also, of course, like the house builder and all the customizable aspects of the game are going to be in place. And the interesting thing about the beacon is that the game can exist in both the Web 2 and the Web 3 world at the same time, and we plan to release the game globally. We will also have a mobile version by the time of release. And the idea is that the beacon on the Web 2 side, especially in places like the App Store that don't allow you to list crypto-related stuff, you just treat them as normal gamers and customers. You add revenue streams to the game like most games have, but then you suggest to them that there's like another aspect of this game, which is like the Web 3 side, where if they jump in, we can onboard them and then teach them how to, well, use the items as NFTs, how to withdraw them, how to trade them, and then ideally make them dive down the crypto rabbit hole and understand why it's valuable to have blockchain assets within games. So that's like the plan that we're having. The global launch is going to be on both Web 2 and Web 3. And the idea is to have like this way of onboarding gamers, be a game that is fun and engaging, and even a game that ideally they would pay to purchase stuff on, like pay to purchase cosmetics or stuff like you have in most free-to-play games, and then introduce them to the Web3 side optionally, right? And if you have that approach, you launch at the same time like the two versions and merge them in the online part. Because you can have like the Web3 version and on the Web2 version interacting on the online aspects of the game without any problems, because most of the items for now are cosmetic. Well, then you can tackle like both worlds, so to say, and ideally help more gamers realize that there's a reason why Web3 actually makes sense within games. But what you need to have in order to do that is a game that is fun and engaging enough for them to want to play it and want to immerse in it, like how most of us actually pay and immerse in games that we like and love, right? So that's the overall idea of the event, is to build up everything towards the global release of the game, and then, well, of course, take it from there. Well, with both the Web 3 and the Web 2 side at the same time. And maybe I rambled on a little bit.
No, you guys have so much on the go. I have no idea how you guys get all that, plan on getting all that stuff done. It's been so long in the making too. Like we talked about some of the things you're mentioning now, like when we first met, and it's nice to see that it's right. The puzzle pieces are kind of coming together now. So,
right. I mean, so one of the things that most people underestimate is how time-consuming and hard it is to build games. Games are actually they take a ton of time to be built. There's tons of polishing that you need to do, and tons of, for some reason that's not loading well. There's a ton of polishing that you need to do, and ton of hashing out the features, ton of development, and a ton of challenges that are hard to estimate at the beginning, because every game is very unique, and the features that you build within a game are adjusted to the game that you decided to create. And this involves everything from game balancing and game features to intricate stuff like the networking layer and how it works, and how you manage like rollbacks and stuff like that for the player to really have a seamless experience. And all of that takes plenty of time. And I'd say that what we've seen on the Web3 world is that plenty of people do, let's say, not fundraising, but sales or token sales or stuff like that with the promise of a game, but without really specifying how challenging it is and how much time it could take to create a game that is fun, right? And that really engages people. What we decided to do from the Beacon side is that we decided not to blend in the Web3 aspects that most games do in the game. Like we will have a token, but we don't intend the token to be, at least initially, blended into the game's economy. And the reason behind doing that is because, well, creating a sustainable economy within a game is a very challenging feat. And if you add Web3 on top of that, the odds that you do it well at the beginning are not that high. But on the other hand, if you have a game that has revenue streams, because if you have a game that is both in Web 2 and Web 3 and has revenue streams, then you can use that revenue in a way to nourish the token and the ecosystem that you're building, and then open a whole new array of possibilities to reward users and to make things more engaging or more compelling for people. I mean, blockchain opens a ton of gateways in that sense.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, one of the advantages, I guess, that you guys have is you can kind of look at what other people have done when it comes to like game economics and crossovers between Web 2 and Web 3, and we don't really know what's like the ultimately like the best approach. We just know what feels good and what kind of feels a little bit gimmicky and maybe short term.
Right. And there's also like this, because I understand this pretty well, because I've been in the space of gaming, of building games for almost 2 years now, or more actually. And you have as a founder, you also have like the FOMO of that other people get. Like you see other games like launching and raising millions of dollars in a token sale or whatnot, and you feel like you're being left out in a way. You feel like you're like the boat just like shipped without you, right? And you're like compelled in a way or tempted to rush things and to create a token and rush it and jump into it without really considering the implications that it might have, right? And I think that from our side, we've been just very patient and very upfront in that sense with our community that we've been building, that we want to have a game first, a product that's fantastic enough first before we even consider like adding something like an economy, like a Web3 economy within it. And I think that the last year and a half or so have been mostly building that instead of rushing into things. We've just essentially just been working on making sure that the game is good enough for Web2 people to try it. And if you have that, then you can add revenue streams or have more revenue streams and then start thinking about how to create like a Web3 economy that makes sense. Although I think that our plan as a company and our token is to have more than one game, right? Well, the Beacon is our first game and the one, of course, that we've invested the most on. But what we've been doing with the Beacon is that we've created a ton of systems that we use not only on the new client, but also that we can use in subsequent games. Like we created systems for the networking and systems for creating tons of stuff between abilities and characters and monsters and everything. So we invested quite a bit into creating those systems that allow us to produce more stuff in the future faster. So what we're aiming towards is to, after the Beacon V1 is live and stable and good enough, we will create another game. And just to give you an example, like we want to have like a universe of the Beacon, so to speak, like how you have the Warcraft universe where there's Warcraft 3 and there's World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, like different games. We want to have something similar with the Beacon. And for instance, we have our pet collection. We want to create a pet battle game down the line, as an example, that's based on the Beacon's pets. And you can use this game and target it to specific demographics and reach wider audiences. And also have, interrupt between the assets of the Beacon and the ones of that game or any subsequent game for that matter. Like you can, if you have a pet, you will be able to use it on the Beacon, you will be able to use it on the pet battle game and everything else that has it, right? We also are like even thinking about doing that in a more like blend-in manner. Like let's say you have the pet battle game, and one way to access it is like via the Beacon. Essentially, you go to the main game, and then similarly to how Final Fantasy did it, or how The Witcher did it with Gwent, you talk to an NPC, and then boom, like the card game popped up, like Gwent. I think it was Gwent, the name. We want to do something similar with the Beacon, right? And creating like this whole ecosystem, this whole universe, right? And the token is going to be more tied towards this ecosystem rather than the game economy itself. There might be use cases for the token within the game, but we are very, very mindful before doing anything that really shapes the economy of the game, because that's very hard to it's very hard to manage, it's very hard to balance, and it's very hard to project as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And most of the like biggest games in the world, like even World of Warcraft, they've struggled with their economies, and we won't take that step unless it's really beneficial towards the game, and we don't to be honest, I don't think it will be that easily. But what you can have is an ecosystem token that's tied towards the, let's say, the universe we're building, but in a way also like the studio, right? It's a way of tying users to what the studio produces, and have them benefit from that. Especially if the studio has revenue streams, then you'd have plenty of ways that you can reward players with a token. Of course, compliance issues aside, right? But that's a more, I would say it's a more sustainable approach, or a one that's like less prone to disaster than just right away including the token into your economy and hoping that not to explode or not to fail because of things you couldn't foresee back then. So that's the aim, that's the goal. And what we're kickstarting now with the Rite of Passage NFT event and with this event is like the initial step towards this ecosystem that we're building. Firstly, including the early supporters, helping not using them, but giving them the opportunity to help us and reward them for doing it, and well, start from here, like building the ground up for everything that we want to create. What we want to be is a game studio, a company of games that lasts for years to come. And this is one of the first steps, I'd say, after plenty of work and polishing. but yeah.
Well, I would say you guys are off to a good start, and you have your plate full, Diego.
Yeah, I mean, right now, yeah, man. I mean, right now it's pretty crazy. But I think that it's been a good experiment in a way, what has happened lately, because before we launched this, and even when we were launching it, everybody was like saying on crypto Twitter that, oh, Web3 gaming is dead and play to airdrop is dead and all that narrative sorts. And to be honest, man, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen the deadness of it, because I think we're right now at about 145K DAU as we speak, I think it is. The Twitter has 200,000 new followers. The Discord has almost the same, and maybe even more, I would say. This event has been way more successful than the settlement launch that we had by the end of 2022. I mean, it's been at least 5 times as bigger. So it isn't like the Web3's gaming is dying. Is that I think that people were craving fun experiences, or something that really felt more like a game instead of the classical farm social stuff that space has been ridden with for the last 5 or 6 months, I'd say. People really wanted something that was fun and engaging, and I think that we as game builders, we need to provide that. Like the Play to Airdrop campaign is a good campaign, is a great initiative, but you should blend it probably with your game to use the opportunity to introduce people to your game. I'll also mention one thing that was a surprise in a way. I mean, not a surprise per se, but it was way bigger than what I thought. It's like, usually, like most of us, like founders, we use like Twitter as the main platform for sentiment and for you to see what users are thinking. But there's tons of demographics in the world that don't use Twitter at all. And we've seen many of them in this event. Like there's tons of people, especially from different sides of Asia, that don't really use Twitter that much. Tons of people, and this I say this with surprise because I'm from Chile, I'm from South America. Tons of people from South America picking up as well. Brazil is one of our biggest communities right now. Most of them don't use Twitter either. Most of them just run on Discord. Argentina is also picking up fantastically. There's a tons of communities of gamers in there. We've had like many shares of different communities running gaming nights with the Beacon, and things that you don't see on Twitter but exist around the world. They're the same as happening in Vietnam and in the Philippines and in Korea and in Japan and everywhere essentially. And you don't get that insight from watching Twitter, but those communities exist, and they were looking for something fun to try, right? So even though we had a successful launch back in 2022, I'd say that this year, right now, the amount of communities that we're seeing that are gaming, well, together and doing quests and stuff like that is way higher, man. It's like 20 times or so what it was back on late 2022. So I don't think that Web3 gaming is dying at all, even if the macros are not good right now. Macros, quote unquote, being BTC and ETH. But, and the sentiment might not be high on Twitter, but the amount of users, man, is growing like mad right now. I mean, and using Twitter is a very bad proxy to see what the actual landscape really looks like, because you're missing out on, I'd say, 80% or so of the actual users. You're not seeing who they are or what they're up to or what they want if you just use Twitter, which was a learning experience from us in a way. We sort of had some insight of this back in the old days when the settlement launched, the initial one, but now it's just way bigger. It's so much more people, man, that are running like gaming groups and stuff like that than before. That I don't see this in the Web3 gaming initiative dying in any sort of way. If anything, it's just going to ramp up like crazy in the next few years.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, we literally work in this space full time, so we're quite invested our time and our energy and our efforts into gaming and Web3 and the crossover with Web2. I gotta wrap up the stream here, but I appreciate your time, and hopefully you don't have too much work to do for the rest of your evening. It's probably like what, 7, 8 p.m.
10 more hours, man. 10 more hours, and then I'll go to bed.
Stop. You're in Portugal. It's pretty late.
Yeah, I'm kind of used to it at this point. Dude, honestly, I can't sleep. Like, I'm so excited that there's just a few hours, 4 hours, and I'm done, dude. I wake up like checking Discord, checking Twitter. Pretty fun. It's pretty fun. It's been pretty fun so far.
What's been the best food in Portugal so far?
Perfect.
But what's been your favorite food in Portugal so far?
Oh, my favorite food. I'd say it's called pica-pau and picanha, and the meat is also fantastic. Picanha it's like a meat dish. I don't know how to say this in English. Like the word in Spanish is estofado kind of thing. Oh, I forgot the word. It's like estofado. I mean, it isn't a soup, but it's like meat with tons of vegetables and a particular sauce. And the word just escaped me, man. But I think that's the best. And also as desserts, like the pastéis de nata, like these small cakes that are very famous in Portugal. Yeah, those are golden, man. Those are addictive as hell.
All right, well, thank you again for your time, Diego. Appreciate you doing the trackpad runs. It's very impressive. I think you did that once before too. I feel like you did, or maybe it was me. Somebody did a trackpad.
I don't think I did it live.
Maybe it was me. All right, don't work too hard.
All right, man. Well, it's been great seeing you again, and looking forward to it. Thank you
for the team for me. They're close by.
Absolutely, man, for sure.
And thanks everyone for sticking around for part 2 of the Game7 Arbitrum quest campaign. Stay tuned for next week's quest.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Later.
All right. See ya.